The research ship Harmony drifted quietly through the dark space between stars. Dr. Sarah Chen sat at her workstation, studying samples of alien bacteria from their last planet visit. The ship was peaceful and quiet, just like every other day. For the past 6 months, Captain Marcus Rodriguez walked through the corridors checking on his crew of 30 scientists. They were good people, all of them. Smart people who wanted to learn about the galaxy and help make friends with alien species. None of them were soldiers. The Harmony had only basic shields and no real weapons. It was a ship made for discovery, not for fighting. The captain reached the bridge and sat in his chair. Outside the large windows, stars sparkled like tiny diamonds. Rodriguez loved these quiet moments. After 20 years in the Earth Navy, he had chosen this peaceful job. No more battles, no more death, just exploration and science. "Captain," called Officer Lisa Park from her station. "I'm getting something strange on the emergency channels." Rodriguez turned his chair toward her. "What kind of strange?" "It looks like a distress signal, but it's very weak. The transmission is breaking up badly." "Put it on the main screen." The bridge's large display flickered to life. Static filled the screen, then cleared for a few seconds. An alien face appeared, and Rodriguez recognized it immediately. The creature looked like a bird that had learned to walk upright. Beautiful golden feathers covered its head, and large yellow eyes showed intelligence and kindness. "That's a Corellian," Dr. Chen said as she entered the bridge. "I met one just like that at the last Galactic Council meeting." The image became clearer. The Corellian's feathers were burned and dirty. Blood stained its white robes. Terror filled those usually calm golden eyes. "Please." The alien's voice came through the speakers. "Anyone who receives this message, please, help us. The Vorthak hegemony has attacked our system. They have broken all the peace treaties. They are killing our people and taking our children." The transmission cut to static, then came back. Behind the Corellian, Rodriguez could see smoke and fire. Explosions lit up the sky. "Our cities are burning," the alien continued. "Our defense fleet is destroyed. The Vorthak are using our children as slaves for their war machines. We have maybe 3 days before our last city falls. Please, someone help us. We are sending our location with this message." The screen went dark. The bridge fell silent except for the quiet hum of the ship's engines. "My God," whispered Dr. Chen. "The Corellians are the most peaceful species in the galaxy. They're healers, philosophers. They've never hurt anyone." Rodriguez knew about the Vorthak hegemony. Everyone in the galaxy knew about them. They were a military empire that conquered other species and used them as slaves. They were strong, violent, and had hundreds of warships. The Galactic Council was afraid of them and usually just ignored their attacks on weaker species. "Captain," Officer Park said quietly, "the nearest Galactic Council peacekeeping fleet is 4 months away. The Corellians will be dead in 4 days, Dr. Chen said. Or worse, they'll be slaves." Rodriguez stood up and walked to the large window. The stars looked the same as always, but everything felt different now. Somewhere out there, innocent people were dying. Children were being taken from their families, and nobody was coming to help them. "Sir," Park said, "what are we going to do?" The captain thought about his ship and his crew. They were scientists, not fighters. The Harmony had weak shields and no real weapons. If they went to help the Corellians, they would probably die trying. But Rodriguez remembered something his old Navy commander used to say: "Sometimes doing the right thing means accepting that you might die, but not doing the right thing means accepting that others will die." "How far are we from the Corellian system?" he asked. "About 6 hours at maximum speed," Park answered. "And our emergency broadcast range?" "We can reach about 50 light years, in all directions." Rodriguez nodded. He had made his decision. "Officer Park, set course for the Corellian system, maximum speed." "Sir, we can't fight the Vorthak. We'll be destroyed in minutes." "I know. But maybe we can help evacuate some civilians, and maybe someone else will hear our call for help." The captain walked back to his chair and sat down. He activated the ship's emergency communication system. The red lights on the bridge showed that the message would go out on all military frequencies. "This is Captain Marcus Rodriguez of the United Earth Navy Ship Harmony, he said into the microphone. We have received a distress call from the Karelian Republic. The Vorthak hegemony has attacked their system and is committing genocide against civilian populations. We are responding to provide humanitarian aid, but we need immediate military assistance from any available human naval forces. He paused for a moment, then added, The Karelians are peaceful people who have never threatened anyone. They're being slaughtered, and their children are being enslaved. We can't let this happen, not while we have the power to stop it. Rodriguez ended the transmission and looked around at his crew. They all stared at him with wide eyes. Captain, Dr. Chen said softly, do you really think someone will come? I don't know, Rodriguez answered honestly. But we have to try. What the captain didn't know was that his message had traveled much farther than 50 light years. A new type of military communication relay had been secretly installed along the outer rim. His desperate call for help reached Admiral Elizabeth Nakamura, commanding the 7th Human Expeditionary Fleet. The 7th Fleet was not a normal naval force. It was humanity's newest and most deadly military experiment. They had just finished testing weapons that most alien species considered too dangerous to use. The fleet was designed to fight wars that other species thought were impossible to win. Admiral Nakamura had earned the nickname Iron Wolf during the war with the Saurian Empire 10 years ago. She was known for never leaving a fight and never abandoning allies. When she heard Captain Rodriguez's message, she didn't hesitate for even a second. All ships, she announced over the fleet communications, prepare for immediate hyperspace jump. We have civilians under attack and they need our help. The 7th Fleet's navigation computers calculated the jump to the Karelian system. It would take them through dangerous hyperspace routes that most captains would never attempt. But Admiral Nakamura's ships were built for impossible missions. In the depths of space, 36 of humanity's most advanced warships began powering up their hyperspace drives. The Retribution, Admiral Nakamura's flagship, led the formation. The 3-kilometer-long dreadnought carried enough firepower to destroy small planets. Captain Rodriguez didn't know that help was coming. He watched the stars through the bridge windows as the Harmony raced toward the Karelian system. In a few hours, they would either save lives or die trying. But somewhere in the darkness between stars, the most lethal war fleet humanity had ever built was preparing to show the galaxy what happened when peaceful people called for help. The Iron Wolf was coming, and she was bringing her pack. The Karelian system looked like a vision of hell. 3 beautiful blue worlds that had once been home to billions of peaceful bird-like beings now burned under attack from hundreds of dark warships. The Vorthak fleet surrounded the planets like hungry wolves around wounded prey. Supreme Warcast Thexara stood on the bridge of her massive command ship, watching the destruction with satisfaction. She was over 8 feet tall, with thick gray skin covered in battle scars. 4 arms allowed her to operate multiple weapon controls at once. Her species had evolved for war, and she was the best killer the Vorthak had ever produced. Report, she growled to her subordinates. The 2nd planet has fallen completely, replied her tactical officer. The 3rd planet has only 1 city left. We estimate total victory in 18 hours. Good. And the prizes? We have captured over 2 million Karelian younglings. Their medical knowledge will be very useful for our war machine. Thexara smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. The Karelians were famous throughout the galaxy for their advanced healing abilities. Vorthak scientists would study these captured children and learn to make their own soldiers stronger and harder to kill. Supreme Warcast, another officer called out. We're detecting an unknown fleet approaching the system edge. What species? The ships appear to be human design. Thexara laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Humans? How many ships? 36 vessels. 36? Thexara could barely contain her amusement. I have 400 ships. What do these foolish humans think they can accomplish? She had fought humans before during border conflicts. They were emotional creatures who relied on primitive kinetic weapons and simple tactics. Their ships were smaller and weaker than proper military vessels. Most importantly, humans always hesitated before killing, which made them easy to defeat. Shall we destroy them immediately? asked her weapons officer. No, Thexara said. Let them get close. I want to see the fear in their eyes before they die. At the edge of the system, Admiral Elizabeth Nakamura stood on the bridge of the Retribution. She was a small woman compared to most alien warriors, barely 5.5 feet tall. But her crew knew that size meant nothing when it came to the Iron Wolf. Her dark eyes studied the tactical display showing the Vorthak fleet positions. Admiral, reported Captain James Harrison, her tactical officer. Enemy force composition is 400 ships, mix of heavy cruisers, destroyers, and dreadnoughts. They significantly outnumber us. I can count, Captain, Nakamura replied calmly. What about the civilian populations? Massive casualties on planets 2 and 3. Planet 1 still has resistance in the northern continent. We're detecting large numbers of Corellian life signs in underground shelters. Nakamura nodded. The 7th Fleet had arrived faster than any military force should have been able to travel. The new hyperspace drives had worked perfectly, but they had paid a price. Several ships reported minor engine damage from the dangerous jump. Fleet status? She asked. All ships operational. The ghost ships report stealth systems at full capacity. Weapon systems are charged and ready. The Admiral looked at the display again. 400 enemy ships versus 36 human vessels. Any normal military commander would retreat and call for reinforcements. But Nakamura's fleet was not normal. The Retribution alone carried more firepower than most entire fleets. Its experimental railgun could punch holes through anything the Vorthak had. The 6 heavy cruisers carried AI-assisted targeting systems that could track hundreds of targets simultaneously. The 12 destroyers were faster and more maneuverable than anything else in the galaxy, but the real surprise was the 3 ghosty ships. These vessels could phase shift between normal space and hyperspace, making them effectively invisible and able to appear anywhere on the battlefield. No other species had ever developed this technology. Open a channel to the Vorthak command. Ship, Nakamura ordered. The main screen showed Thexara's scarred face. The alien commander looked amused, as if she was watching children play with toys. I am Admiral Elizabeth Nakamura of the United Earth Navy, the human said in a calm, clear voice. You have exactly 1 hour to withdraw from Corellian space and release all prisoners. This is your only warning. Thexara's laughter echoed across the bridge. 1 hour? Little human, I have 400 warships. You have 36 tiny vessels. You should run home before I decide to add human slaves to my collection. Is that your answer? Nakamura asked. Watch this, Thexara snarled. She switched to another channel. Execute 50 Corellian prisoners. Make sure the humans can see. On the main screen, Nakamura watched as Vorthak soldiers dragged terrified Corellian civilians into an airlock. The beautiful bird-like creatures begged for mercy as the airlock doors closed. Then the outer door opened and the vacuum of space claimed their lives. Admiral Nakamura's expression never changed, but everyone on the bridge could feel the temperature drop. When she spoke again, her voice was like ice. Captain Harrison, send the following message to all fleet commanders. Weapons free, no quarter, no survivors. Admiral, Harrison said quietly. Confirming weapons free order for all ships. Confirmed. And Captain, make sure every ship in the Vorthak fleet sees what happens when you murder innocents in front of humans. Thexara was still laughing when she saw the human fleet begin to move. The 36 ships split into 3 groups, each moving in a different direction. It looked like a classic pincer movement, something any military academy student would recognize. Predictable, she muttered. All ships, prepare to engage. Show these humans how real warriors fight. Her 100-ship vanguard moved forward to meet the approaching human vessels. Thexara expected the humans to fire at long range with their primitive kinetic weapons, then retreat when they realized they were outmatched. Instead, something impossible happened. 3 human ships simply vanished. Not destroyed, not damaged, they disappeared completely from all sensors. At the same time, the human heavy cruisers opened fire at a range that should have been ineffective. The first Vorthak ship to die was the heavy cruiser Bloodfang. The human railgun round hit it at nearly half the speed of light, punching through shields, armor, and hull like they were made of paper. The massive ship split in half and exploded in a ball of nuclear fire. Before Thexera could react, 10 more of her ships were destroyed by the human long-range weapons. The accuracy was impossible. Each shot found its target despite the range and movement of both fleets. "How are they doing this?" she screamed at her sensor operator. "Unknown Supreme Warcast. Their targeting computers appear to be far more advanced than our intelligence reports indicated." Then the ghost ships reappeared, but not in space. They materialized inside the hangars of 3 different Vorthak vessels. Human Marines in powered armor began pouring out of the ghost ships, their weapons cutting through Vorthak defenders like a hot knife through butter. "Impossible," Thexara roared. "Ships cannot teleport inside other ships." But the humans had not teleported. They had used phase shift technology to move through hyperspace and emerge inside the enemy vessels. It was a tactic that no other species had ever attempted because no other species had ever developed the technology to do it. The battle was no longer a fight between fleets. It had become a demonstration of human military superiority that would be remembered throughout the galaxy for centuries to come. Admiral Nakamura watched the tactical display as her fleet tore through the Vorthak vanguard. Her expression remained calm, but inside she felt the cold satisfaction of justice being served. "Time to target the command ship?" she asked. 8 minutes at current approach speed," Harrison replied. "Good. I want to have a personal conversation with their commander." The space around the Corellian system had become a graveyard of burning Vorthak warships. In just 30 minutes, Admiral Nakamura's fleet had destroyed over half of the enemy vanguard. But the real battle was just beginning. Supreme Warcast. Thexera watched her tactical display with growing rage and confusion. Her ships were dying faster than she could count them. The humans were fighting like nothing she had ever seen before. "All reserve fleets, attack immediately," she screamed into her communicator. "Destroy those human ships." 300 Vorthak vessels moved forward in massive formation. Their plan was simple: use overwhelming numbers to crush the smaller human fleet. It had worked against 17 other species. It should work against the humans too. But humans, Thexara was learning, did not fight like other species. The human fleet split apart like a school of fish avoiding a predator. Instead of staying in formation, each group of ships moved independently. Some used the gravity of the gas giant to slingshot around at impossible speeds. Others hid behind asteroid fields and launched surprise attacks. The ghost ships continued to appear and disappear, striking from inside enemy vessels. "They're not following any known battle doctrine," reported Thexara's tactical officer. "Each ship seems to be making its own decisions." Impossible. No fleet can coordinate without central command. But the humans were coordinating. Their AI-assisted communication systems allowed each ship to share information instantly with every other ship. When one human vessel identified a target, every other ship in the fleet knew about it within seconds. When a ship needed help, support arrived before the captain even had to ask for it. The human destroyer Lightning demonstrated this perfectly. Captain Sarah Kim found her ship surrounded by 5 Vorthak cruisers. In any normal fleet, she would have been dead. Instead, she simply accelerated directly toward the largest enemy ship while transmitting her plan to the fleet. The cruiser New York appeared above the enemy formation and fired a spread of missiles. The destroyer Thunder came from below, its railguns punching holes in Vorthak hulls. The ghost ship Phantom materialized inside the enemy flagship and began tearing it apart from within. In less than 2 minutes, all 5 Vorthak ships were destroyed. The Lightning never fired a single shot. Thexara could not understand how the humans were doing this. Her species had evolved for war over millions of years. They had conquered most of their galaxy through superior tactics and overwhelming force. But these humans fought like they had been born in battle. "Supreme Warcast," her communications officer called out. "The humans are jamming our command frequencies." "What?" "They've hacked into our communication network. Our ships can barely talk to each other." Thexara's 4 hands clenched into fists. Not only were the humans destroying her fleet, they were also using electronic warfare to confuse her remaining ships. Some of her captains were receiving false orders. Others couldn't communicate at all. On the bridge of the Retribution, Admiral Nakamura watched the battle progress with calm satisfaction. Her cyber warfare specialist had broken the Vorthak communication codes within minutes. Now they were sending false information throughout the enemy fleet. "Admiral," reported Captain Harrison, "the enemy is breaking formation. Many of their ships are retreating. Let them go for now. Focus on the ships that are still attacking civilians." Nakamura had noticed something important. While most of the Vorthak fleet was fighting her ships, some enemy vessels were still bombarding the Karelian cities. Those ships had to be stopped first. Ghost ship teams, new priority targets. Any Vorthak vessel firing on civilian populations is to be destroyed immediately. The 3 ghost ships acknowledged the order and vanished from normal space. They reappeared near the planet, where dozens of Vorthak ships were continuing their attack on the remaining Karelian city. What happened next became legendary among human marines. The ghost ship Wraith materialized inside the Vorthak heavy cruiser, City Killer. Instead of fighting their way to the bridge, the human marines used a new tactic that no alien species had ever seen. They split up. While one team fought toward the bridge, another team went to the engine room. A third team headed for the weapons control center. A fourth team found the ship's computer core. The Vorthak crew, trained to fight large groups of enemies, couldn't handle multiple small attacks happening all over their ship at the same time. Within 10 minutes, the human marines had captured the entire vessel. They used the ship's own weapons to destroy 2 other Vorthak cruisers before moving on to their next target. The same thing happened on ship after ship. Human marines didn't just board enemy vessels, they conquered them. Their powered armor made them stronger and faster than any Vorthak warrior. Their training made them smarter and more adaptable than any alien soldier. But most importantly, humans fought with an emotion that the Vorthak had never encountered in battle: righteous anger. Every human in the fleet had seen the Vorthak murder innocent civilians. They had heard the reports about enslaved children. They knew that if they lost this battle, billions more innocents would die. The Vorthak fought for conquest and glory. The humans fought for justice and protection of the innocent. It made all the difference. Sergeant Maria Santos demonstrated this perfectly. She led a marine team aboard the Vorthak ship Bone Crusher, where they found a hold full of captured Karelian children. The young aliens were chained together, terrified and injured. The Vorthak captain tried to use the children as hostages. "Surrender, human, or we will kill them all." Santos looked at the alien commander with cold eyes. "You want to threaten children? Let me show you what humans do to people who hurt kids." What followed was not a battle. It was an execution. Santos and her team moved through the ship like avenging angels, freeing every prisoner and eliminating every Vorthak who had participated in harming civilians. Similar scenes played out across the battlefield. Human crews fought with a combination of superior technology, tactical brilliance, and moral fury that no enemy could match. On her command ship, Thexara watched her fleet die. In 6 hours, she had lost over 300 vessels. The humans had lost exactly 0 ships, though several reported minor damage. Supreme War Cast, her surviving officers reported, "Our remaining ships are requesting permission to retreat." Thexara looked at the tactical display. Her mighty armada, which had conquered 17 civilizations, was being destroyed by 36 human ships. It was impossible, but it was happening. "No retreat," she snarled. "We are Vorthak. We do not run from inferior species." But even as she said it, Thexara knew the battle was lost. The humans had proven something that no species in the galaxy had ever believed possible. Sometimes skill and determination were more important than numbers. Admiral Nakamura's voice came over the communication channel again. "Supreme War Cast to Thexara, this is your final chance to surrender. Your fleet is defeated. Further resistance will only result in more unnecessary death." Thexara looked around her bridge at the faces of her surviving crew. They were afraid. The mighty Vorthak, who had terrified the galaxy for centuries, were afraid of humans. For the first time in her life, Thexara began to understand that she had made a terrible mistake. She had awakened something in the humans that should have been left sleeping. She had awakened their war machine. The bridge of the Vorthak command ship was silent except for the sound of alarms and distant explosions. Supreme War Cast Thexara sat in her command chair, staring at the tactical display that showed the destruction of her once mighty fleet. Of the 400 ships she had brought to conquer the Corellians, less than 50 remained operational. Supreme Warcast, her communications officer said quietly, "The humans are requesting our surrender." Thexara's 4 hands gripped the arms of her chair until her knuckles turned white. The idea of surrendering to any species was unthinkable. The Vorthak were the greatest warriors in the galaxy. They did not bow to inferior beings. But as she watched another group of her ships explode under human railgun fire, she realized that pride would not bring back her dead crews or save her remaining vessels. "Open a channel," she said finally. Admiral Nakamura's face appeared on the main screen. The small human woman looked calm and professional, showing no signs of the terrible destruction her fleet had just unleashed. "I am Supreme Warcast Thexara," the alien commander said with as much dignity as she could manage. "What are your terms for surrender?" "Immediate cessation of all hostile actions," Nakamura replied. "All captured Corellians to be released unharmed. Your surviving ships will submit to boarding and inspection. You and your senior officers will be taken into custody for questioning about war crimes." "War crimes?" Thexara's voice rose in anger. "We are conducting legitimate military operations against enemy forces. You are murdering civilians and enslaving children," Nakamura said coldly. "That makes you war criminals. You have 10 minutes to decide. Accept these terms, or we will continue this battle until every one of your ships is destroyed." The channel closed, leaving Thexara alone with her thoughts and her defeated fleet. 15 minutes later, the first human boarding parties arrived on the Vorthak command ship. Admiral Nakamura led the team personally, wearing full combat armor and carrying a sidearm. She had fought aliens before, but never any as large and dangerous as the Vorthak. Thexara waited for her in the ship's main conference room, her 4 arms bound with electromagnetic restraints. Even captured, she was an imposing figure, 8 feet tall and covered in battle scars that told the story of a lifetime of warfare. "Admiral Nakamura," she said as the human entered, "I have heard stories about you. They call you the Iron Wolf, and I've heard about you," Nakamura replied, taking a seat across from the alien commander. "They call you the Butcher of Alderaan. 50 million civilians died when you conquered that system. They resisted. Resistance brings consequences." Nakamura activated a recording device and placed it on the table between them. "Tell me about the Corellian children you captured." "They are prisoners of war. We will use their medical knowledge to improve our own forces." "They are 8-year-old children who have never held a weapon in their lives," Nakamura said. "How does that make them combatants?" Thexara was quiet for a moment. In her mind, all conquered peoples belong to the Vorthak. Their knowledge, their technology, even their children, everything became property of the hegemony. It had always been this way. "You would not understand," she said finally. "Your species is weak. You let emotions control your actions." "Our emotions are exactly what make us strong," Nakamura replied. "We fight harder when we're protecting innocent people. We think more clearly when we're angry about injustice. And we never ever give up when children are in danger." The interrogation continued for hours. Slowly, carefully, Admiral Nakamura drew information from the captured Vorthak commander. What she learned made her blood run cold. The attack on the Corellians was not an isolated incident. For over 200 years, the Vorthak hegemony had been systematically conquering and enslaving weaker species throughout their region of the galaxy. 17 different civilizations had been destroyed or absorbed. Billions of sentient beings had been killed or enslaved. The worst part was that the Galactic Council knew about it. They had known for decades. But the Vorthak were too strong, and stopping them would have required a massive military effort that the Council deemed politically complex and economically unfeasible. "So you just let them die," Nakamura said when she read the classified Galactic Council reports that her intelligence teams had recovered from Vorthak computers. Dr. Sarah Chen, who had joined the interrogation via video link from the Harmony, looked sick. The Council has been covering this up for years. They classified the Vorthak attacks as internal imperial expansion instead of genocide. How many more species are under attack right now? Nakamura asked Thexara. The alien commander smiled, showing her sharp teeth. The hegemony has over 2,000 ships. This fleet was only one battle group. Even now, our forces are conquering the Altinian colony worlds and the Zentran home system. Nakamura felt something cold settle in her stomach. 2 more species were being destroyed while she sat here questioning a prisoner. Thousands, maybe millions of innocent people were dying. Admiral, Dr. Chen said over the communication link, we have to contact the Galactic Council. They need to mobilize peacekeeping forces immediately. The Council will debate for months while people die, Nakamura replied. By the time they decide to act, those species will be extinct. She looked at Thexara, who was watching the conversation with obvious amusement. The alien knew that the humans were just one small fleet. They couldn't be everywhere at once. They couldn't save everyone. There is something you should know about humans, Nakamura told the Vorthak commander. When we make a decision to protect innocent people, we don't ask permission from committees or councils. We just do what needs to be done. She stood up and walked to the conference room's communication panel. This is Admiral Nakamura to all human vessels. Prepare for fleet-wide broadcast on all galactic communication frequencies. Admiral, Captain Harrison's voice came through the speaker. You sure about this? Earth Command hasn't authorized. I'm not asking Earth Command for permission, Nakamura interrupted. I'm informing them of what we're going to do. She activated the broadcast system and began recording a message that would be transmitted across the entire galaxy. This is Admiral Elizabeth Nakamura of the United Earth Navy 7th Fleet, she said, looking directly into the camera. We have just concluded a battle with the Vorthak hegemony in the Corellian system. During our investigation of captured enemy vessels, we have discovered evidence of systematic genocide being committed by Vorthak forces against 17 different species over the past 2 centuries. She paused, letting that information sink into whoever might be listening. The Galactic Council has been aware of these crimes for decades but has chosen not to act. As of this moment, Earth no longer recognizes the Council's authority over human military actions in cases of genocide or crimes against sentient beings. Thexara's expression changed from amusement to shock. You cannot do this. You are only one species. The galaxy will unite against you. Let them try, Nakamura said without looking away from the camera. We are broadcasting the evidence of Vorthak war crimes on all frequencies. Every species in the galaxy will see what you have done. They will also see what happens when you murder innocents in front of humans. She ended the broadcast and turned back to face the captured alien commander. You made a mistake when you killed those Corellian civilians in front of my fleet, she said. You showed us exactly what kind of monsters you are. Now the entire galaxy knows too. Dr. Chen appeared on the communication screen again, her face pale. Admiral, Earth Command is sending urgent messages. They want to know what you're doing. Tell them I'm doing my job, Nakamura replied. My job is to protect innocent people from monsters, and there are a lot more monsters out there that need to be dealt with. She looked at the star charts on the wall, showing the locations of other Vorthak fleets and their current targets. Somewhere out there, people were dying while politicians debated and committees formed subcommittees. Set course for the Altinian system, she ordered. Maximum speed. Admiral, Harrison's voice came through the speaker. Our orders are to return to Earth for debriefing. Our orders are to protect innocent people, Nakamura corrected. Everything else is just paperwork. 6 months had passed since the battle in the Corellian system. The galaxy had changed in ways that no one could have predicted. Admiral Elizabeth Nakamura stood on the observation deck of the Retribution, watching the construction of humanity's newest military base. The station orbited the former Vorthak capital world, where the alien empire's government had once planned the conquest of innocent species. Now it served as headquarters for the Free Species Alliance. Admiral, Captain, Harrison approached with a status report. The latest intelligence confirms it. The Vorthak hegemony has completely collapsed. Their remaining fleets have either surrendered or fled to unknown space. Nakamura nodded, still looking out at the stars. How many species have joined the Alliance? 43. So far. The Corellians, obviously, plus all the species we liberated from Vorthak control, but we're also getting requests from civilizations that were never attacked. They want protection from other aggressive empires. The formation of the Free Species Alliance had shocked the galactic political establishment. For centuries, the Galactic Council had been the only major interstellar government. Now there was a competing organization built on completely different principles. The Council governed through committees, debates, and compromise. They moved slowly and carefully, always considering the political implications of every action. The Alliance, with humanity as its military protector, operated on a simple rule. Any species that attacked innocent civilians would face immediate retaliation. Any word from Earth Command? Nakamura asked. They're still debating whether to officially approve your actions, Harrison replied with a slight smile. The politicians can't decide if you saved the galaxy or started a war. What do you think? I think we did what needed to be done. Dr. Sarah Chen entered the observation deck, carrying a datapad with her latest report. The scientist had become the Alliance's first human ambassador, helping to coordinate between the different species. Admiral, I have the final casualty numbers. From our campaigns against the Vorthak, she said. Total liberation operations, 23 star systems. Total civilian lives saved, approximately 4 billion. Human casualties, 0 fatalities, minimal injuries. Nakamura turned away from the window to face her old friend. And the cost to our fleet? Surprisingly low. The new technology performed better than anyone expected. Most of our ships need only minor repairs. The Ghost Ship program has been so successful that Earth is already building 12 more vessels. The success of the human military campaigns had surprised everyone, including the humans themselves. The Seventh Fleet had not just defeated the Vorthak, they had dismantled the entire empire in a series of swift, precise strikes that minimized both human and civilian casualties. Each battle had followed the same pattern. Human forces would appear without warning, disable enemy communications, destroy military targets with overwhelming firepower, and then use marine boarding parties to capture enemy commanders. The psychological effect on other aggressive species had been immediate and profound. Dr. Chen, Nakamura said, what's the reaction from the Galactic Council? They're furious, Chen replied honestly. They've demanded that Earth recall all military forces and submit to Council authority. When Earth refused, they threatened economic sanctions. How did that work out for them? Chen smiled. Not well. Half the Council's member species have already applied to join our alliance instead. The Crystalline Collective formally withdrew from the Council yesterday. The Altarian Trade Consortium is expected to follow within the week. The collapse of Galactic Council authority had been swift and dramatic. For too long, they had ignored genocide and slavery while focusing on trade agreements and territorial disputes. When the Alliance offered a real alternative, protection in exchange for mutual cooperation, many species had jumped at the chance. Captain, Nakamura said to Harrison, what's our current fleet strength? The Seventh Fleet remains at full operational status, but Earth has also dispatched the 3rd, 8th, and 12th Fleets to patrol Alliance space. Total human naval forces in this region, 144 ships. Nakamura was quiet for a moment, thinking about how much had changed. 6 months ago, she had commanded 36 ships on a desperate rescue mission. Now she was effectively the military commander of an interstellar alliance that included dozens of species and hundreds of star systems. Admiral, Chen said softly, there's something else. We've received another distress call. From who? The Harmony. Captain Rodriguez picked up a transmission from the Sigma Centauri system. A species called the Malari are under attack by something called the Draconian Empire. Nakamura felt the familiar cold anger settle in her chest. How many ships does this Draconian Empire have? Intelligence estimates over 800 vessels. They've been conquering systems along the galactic rim for the past 50 years. Then they're about to learn the same lesson the Vorthak learned, Nakamura said grimly. No one attacks innocent people while humanity is watching. She walked back to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere in the darkness, another species was calling for help. Another group of innocent people was facing slavery or death, while politicians debated and committees formed subcommittees. But this time, help was coming. This time, the most lethal war fleet humanity had ever built was ready to answer the call. Captain Harrison, signal all fleet commanders. Prepare for immediate hyperspace jump to the Sigma Centauri system. Admiral, Chen said, shouldn't we inform Earth Command first? Get official authorization? Nakamura smiled, the expression cold and predatory. Dr. Chen, Earth Command can approve or disapprove after we've saved those people. Right now, somewhere, in the galaxy, children are being taken from their families. Civilians are being murdered. That's all the authorization I need. She activated the fleet communication system. All ships, this is Admiral Nakamura. We have received a distress call from innocent people under attack by hostile forces. We will respond immediately with overwhelming force. The enemy fleet outnumbers us approximately 25 to 1. She paused, knowing that every human crew member was listening. Remember why we're here. Remember the Corellian children. Remember that we are the shield that stands between innocent people and the monsters that would destroy them. Today, another species will learn that calling for help means humanity will answer. The response from her fleet was immediate and unanimous. Every ship reported ready for combat operations. Every crew member volunteered for the mission. Every human in the fleet understood that they were no longer just part of Earth's navy. They were the guardians of galactic peace. On the bridge of the research vessel Harmony, Captain Rodriguez received Admiral Nakamura's response to his latest distress call forwarding. The message was simple. Help is coming. Iron Wolf en route. Rodriguez smiled and turned to his crew. You heard the Admiral. The Iron Wolf is coming and she's bringing her pack. In the depths of space, 144 human warships began powering up their hyperspace drives. The newest and most advanced military technology humanity had ever created, prepared to jump across the galaxy to protect people they had never met from enemies they had never fought. The Draconian Empire had 800 ships and a reputation for ruthless efficiency. They had conquered dozens of species and enslaved billions of innocent people. They considered themselves the apex predators of their region of space. They were about to discover that there was a new apex predator in the galaxy, and its name was humanity. As the human fleet disappeared into hyperspace, heading toward another battle against impossible odds, one thing was certain. In the new galaxy that was emerging, no species would ever send a distress call without knowing that humanity would answer. The age of genocidal empires preying on the weak was ending. The age of human protection was just beginning.